Assalamu alaikum. I'm engineer Hamna Shakil. In this video, we are going to have a look at an example of relative Cartesian coordinate system. Let's try these the same way as we did for absolute Cartesian coordinate system. So the first method was to turn off the dynamic input. Type line command. Specify the first point. The first point is always relative to the origin. So type 2, 1. That are the coordinates of point number 1. Press enter. Now you have to specify second point. The absolute coordinates of the next point are 2, 4. But here we want to type the coordinates in relative system. So relatively, if you see point P1 and P2, there is no displacement in the x direction. X coordinate of P1 is 2, x coordinate of P2 is also 2. So del x or change in x is 0. The y coordinate of P2 is 4 and y coordinate of P1 is 1. So del y is equal to 3. So if you want to type relative coordinates, you have to start by typing at the rate, then del x, which is 0, comma del y, which is 3. Type enter. So you can see that the second point has been fixed at 2, 4 position. For point number 3, if you move from point number 2 to point number 3, you're moving 5 units in the positive x direction and 3 units in the negative y direction. So for the next point, you can type at the rate positive 5, comma negative 3. Press enter. And now to move back from point number P3 to P1, you have to move 5 units in the negative x direction, and here del y is equal to 0. There is no displacement in the y direction when you move from P3 to P1. So you can type at the rate minus 5, comma 0. Press enter and let's get out of the line command. So we did it by turning the dynamic input off and typing the coordinates as at the rate x displacement between the 2 points and y displacement between the 2 points. Let's move on to the second way. Turn on the dynamic input. Go to drafting settings. Dynamic input. Go to settings and change the system here to relative system. So you have relative Cartesian format. Click OK and OK. Invoke line command. Type the coordinate of first point and the coordinates are 2, 1. Now you have to give the second point, and again you can see on the screen that AutoCAD is asking you for the length of the line and its inclination from the horizontal line. But we want to give coordinates in relative system. As we have set our drafting settings to relative system, you can directly type del x, in this case del x is 0, then press comma. When you press comma, the inclination box will disappear and you can type the del y value. So in this case del y value is 3, type 3, press enter. For point number P3, you have del x equal to 5 and del y equals to minus 3. So type 5, comma, minus 3. Press enter. And to move back from point number P3 to P1, you're moving 5 units in the negative x direction and there is no displacement in the y direction. So you can type minus 5, comma, 0. Press escape and you got the same triangle. So the second method is when you turn the dynamic input on and in the drafting settings, you change the system to Cartesian and relative. Then you can type the coordinates as the displacement in x direction between the 2 points, comma, and the relative displacement in the y direction. Third way is when the drafting setting is not as per your requirement, like you want to give the coordinates in relative system, but the drafting setting is set to absolute or any other system, you can invoke the line command, specify the coordinates of first point, and for the second point, as the drafting setting is not set to relative Cartesian coordinate system, so you have to type at the rate and then specify value of del x and del y. So for point number 2, the value of del x is 0 and the value of del y is 3. To move from point number P2 to P3, again type at the rate. The value of del x is 5. You have to move 5 units in the x direction, comma, 3 units in the negative y direction. So minus 3. Now to move from point number P3 back to P1, type at the rate. You're moving 5 units in the negative x direction. So minus 5, comma, displacement in the y direction is 0. So 0, enter. Let's get out of the line command. So you have got the same triangle again. So in this method, again you have dynamic input on, but in the drafting setting, the system is not set to relative Cartesian. So in that case, you can type your coordinates using the format at the rate, displacement in the x direction, comma, displacement in the y direction. To summarize, you can say that if the dynamic input is off, you can type the coordinates of the points in this format at the rate, displacement in x direction, comma, displacement in y direction. If the dynamic input is on and drafting setting is set to relative Cartesian system, then you can simply type displacement in x direction, comma, displacement in y direction. There will be no need to type at the rate. So this is case 1 of when the dynamic input is on, and in case 2, if the drafting setting is not set to relative Cartesian system, but you want to enter the coordinates in relative system, you can do that by typing at the rate, displacement in x direction, comma, displacement in y direction.